Hi, everyone, and welcome to Hot Culture, the show where we're talking about the latest in entertainment. I'm Monique Jones, owner and webmaster of Moniqueblog.net, and this is my sister Ashley.
Hello.
Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of new things, especially Django Unchained, so let's get started.
What's your name, boy?
His name is Django Freeman.
Where'd you dig him up?
Well, fortuitous turn of events brought Django and myself together.
So, we just got back from seeing Django Unchained, starring Jamie Foxx, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kerry Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson, and Christoph Waltz. And
Is he actually German?
he is actually German.
Oh, cool.
And jeepers, where to even start talking about the movie? Well, first, we loved it. We're two
Yeah.
black people who loved it.
If you couldn't tell before, we're two black people. Just for anyone who's confused out there, that's what we are. Okay.
And I say that because you might have been reading how two people in particular, Cat Williams and
Wow, Cat Williams?
yes,
I haven't heard this. I've only heard the other one.
and Spike Lee
Why
are,
was anybody even listening to Cat Williams? Isn't he still in jail or something?
but they have been talking about the movie, saying that I don't know what Cat Williams said, but we all know what Spike Lee said, which is that he's not going to see the movie.
Sorry, Spike Lee fans. You know, I like Do the Right Thing. It's a great movie. She likes that other one, whatever it's called, Jungle Fever. Great movies, but dude needs to sit down sometimes. Like, everything's okay.
First of all, like I said, we like the movie. Um, it's if you're trepidatious about going to see the film because you're worried about how black people are represented, don't be worried about that.
Well, first you should go see it. Like
yeah.
the first mistake Spike Lee made. I don't know if what's his face?
Cat Williams.
Cat Williams. By the way, how is he keeping up with his perm that regularly if he's been in and out of jail? I know this is off topic, but I've always wondered, how do you keep up with your perm that regularly if you're incarcerated? Do they have somebody? I mean, I'm sure somebody's in there doing perms. Anyway, you shouldn't judge something before you see what it's about in general. And when it comes to movies, if you're gonna throw out stuff like, "Oh, they're misrepresenting my whole race," maybe you should see what's being represented. I mean, how can you say that without even seeing anything? And just from the preview alone, I wasn't offended. Once again, we're two black people, so we've got the black perspective or whatever. I wasn't really offended at all. All I saw was Jamie Foxx being awesome, Jamie Foxx killing white people. I mean, that sounds terrible. I love all people. I'm very like, let's all be peaceful and love one another. I'm just saying, within the context of the movie, we all know it's slavery. Okay, blah 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 blah. Anyway,
and this is the first kind of movie that people have seen
right
like this.
He's a powerful figure and he's a slave, and it kind of reminds me of Frederick Douglass, actually his biography. But we're not going to get into that because this is not an academic show, really.
So the plot of the movie, well, synopsis rather. We have Django, who is first we see him as a slave, and he's bought by Christoph Waltz's character, King.
Doctor
King.
Something. King
Schultz.
King Schultz.
Dr. King Schultz. And Schultz is a bounty hunter pretending to be a dentist. Or, well, he is a dentist, but he hasn't practiced in like 5 years, I think he said. So he's a bounty hunter, and he enlists Django to be his assistant, basically. And so he learns the ropes of how to shoot, how to find the bounty and kill them and get the money. And so Schultz says that after they get so much money during the winter, that he's going to help Django find his wife, Broomhilda, played by Kerry Washington. And that's when we really get into the heart of the movie, when we go to Candyland, which is owned by Calvin Candy.
Which is hilarious in the most disgusting, frightening way.
Right. And that's where, if you want to call it fun, that's where the fun really starts happening.
Yeah, that's where most of the brutal stuff happens. So that's whenever we get to Candyland and the whole, what's his name? Calvin Monsieur Candy. Calvin Candy. Whenever we get to him, that's when real stuff starts going down. Like real deal, nasty, I didn't even look at the screen stuff starts going down. So if you're kind of squeamish, you should probably close your eyes once you see Calvin, what's his face?
Calvin Candy.
Thank you, Calvin Candy. If you don't like disgusting, bone-breaking, stuff being ripped out of people. Close your eyes. That's what I did. I was just like this most
Mhm.
of the movie.
If you love Tarantino, then I think you'll like this movie. I'm not gonna say it's like Kill Bill level. I mean, certainly if you love Pulp Fiction, nothing's gonna top Pulp Fiction. But if you love Tarantino films in general, you're gonna like this movie because it has all the gore that he's famous for. It has the humor that he's famous for. It has the black
Samuel L.
exploitation.
Jackson
Yeah,
that he's
Samuel
famous
L.
for.
Jackson. The black exploitation esque stuff that he loves, stuff that he grew up watching. Um, Western elements, the whole uh, not samurai, but the idea of the hero going on a journey and
It's
getting the
got some sharp
master.
shooting. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And I don't even like guns at all, but that shooting was like amazing. Like there's like it was awesome
Hmm.
and accurate.
Right.
Not advocating guns of any kind, by the way. I have a
Right.
lot of disclaimers. So
But overall, I liked it. There are some things. If there's the one thing that I can say is a detractor, I would say that Tarantino being in the movie
oh
is a
my gosh.
detractor
Oh my gosh.
because his Australian accent. First of all, that's a problem. Second
Yeah.
of all, just that he's in the movie and
Yeah.
it detracts from the movie.
It really does.
And even though we already know it's a film, him being in it reminds you
That
again
it's a
that
film.
that you're in a film.
Because the whole time you're like you're in there. Like you're like, okay, we're with Django. You don't see Jamie Foxx. You don't see Kerry Washington. You don't see whoever the rest of them are.
Leonardo.
You really don't see Leonardo. Like seriously, you do not see him at all. You're in there. The fourth wall is intact. Like you're in there. But once Tarantino brings his little self on the screen, first of all, he looks hilarious. Like they're supposed to be, like slave, whatever herders. What I don't know the terminology for this, but they're moving slaves, and so they're those people. They're deep in the slave trade. Whatever. They're horrible. The other two, I mean, they're kind of comical looking, but Tarantino, like, I'm just literally, I was just like, really? This is where you're coming in at the most like important scene. You're coming in here. You could have been an extra somewhere.
Right.
You could have been visiting somebody. You could have just walked through and said hello. But no, you want to have a long speaking part. Come on, dude. It's enough that you made the movie. You don't need to be all up through the movie
Right.
talking
And
to main characters where
at
you don't
least
belong.
if you're going to be in the movie, be in it like Hitchcock, to where
Yeah.
you don't see.
Nobody. I've never seen Hitchcock in any. I'm sorry, movies. Oh boy.
But yeah, that's the one big detractor. I thought that there were a lot of clever things, like I was telling you before about the Cleopatra room. It's basically, I don't even know because I don't want to use the W word, but it's not really a stripper joint either.
It's kind of just a comfortable place.
Yeah, I think they
for
called
men
it
to smoke cigars and
right.
look at black men fight and enjoy a good black woman
Yes,
after dinner,
yes, like an after dinner mint.
like a gentleman's club.
Yes, a gentleman's club.
Yeah, but not a gentleman's club like the kind we have.
Like the Playboy Club,
Yeah, a nice relaxing area.
but set in slavery times.
So sketchy.
Yeah, but how that's set up and just the fact that it's called the Cleopatra Room, I found to be the most interesting thing about the movie. The playing with the idea that there is a culture that has taken over another culture and then redefined what that culture is supposed to mean. Basically, what I'm saying is that the white Southerners in this movie, whoever created the Cleopatra Room, knows enough about African history to, or maybe doesn't know enough about African history, but they know it exists and they pervert it to what they want it to mean.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of it meaning with Cleopatra being a strong Egyptian or African, since that's where Egypt is, African queen, ruler, strong woman in general, like, and to have Nefertiti's bust in the actual house itself, to have those two figures linked to that kind of place shows that Tarantino is being smart and how he's showing how the white Southerners at that time were perverting stuff for their own ends, if that makes sense.
Even the phrase Mandingo fighters, like, first of all, they're not all Mandingo. Is that even a real?
I don't.
And if this is real, like, seriously, we're not trying to be offensive. I just literally don't know. But I've heard that term, like, they used it in Roots, didn't they?
I'm sure
the Mandingo. And I'm not saying that Alex Haley isn't being real, but Zamunda wasn't real, and I believed that for a while, which could mean I'm stupid, but whatever. But anyway,
I think everybody believed
it was so believable. Which I don't even know why we believed that, because it was Eddie Murphy. Anyway, that phrase also goes back to what she was saying, because the men are not necessarily Mandingo or even really from Africa. They could be born in America. They're just, black guys fighting to the death.
And even, some of you might not know this, but I looked it up, and I've been impressed that I even found this. That the N-word, I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm talking about. The N-word comes from the word, I can't even pronounce it, but it's spelled N-G-R, and that means something totally different than what the N-word has been used to. It's like,
there's no vowels.
It's like, I think it's like ancient Egyptian or something like that.
Wow, okay.
But it means something like gold or something dealing with God. I can't remember exactly.
I think I know what you're talking about.
But that got translated into the N-word. See, everything's been bastardized, so it's a shame, actually. And it's just a shame, like, just to see the Nefertiti bust in there. It's hilarious.
You see this discourse going on right now? This is what Spike Lee can't participate in. Because this man is up here in New York, or that's where he lives in.
Yes.
Yeah, in Brooklyn, Desai, whatever, wherever you are, Spike, in your Knicks hat at the sideline of the game every day, or whatever. He can't participate in this or enjoy the craftsmanship of this movie or even talk about it negatively because he hasn't seen it and he won't see it. I mean, if he had made the movie, it would be just the talk of the town. If he had made this movie, Spike Lee, he would just be like, oh yeah, I'm redefining slavery. I'm making something new out of something that's so horrible. I'm empowering the slave. I'm telling an untold story.
Which, that's the thing that I wish some people would realize. Like, I don't know who exactly doesn't like the movie. I'm just hearing what I'm hearing.
And I would love to hear different things.
Because I think most people, from what I've read, most people, and most black people especially, love the movie. So, there's that. But I think the thing that people should realize, and I don't know how to say this without getting into some kind of war, but slavery is our story. That's true. It's always going to be our story. But it doesn't mean we're the only people who can tell it.
Exactly. And if we're trying to make our way toward this, like, new plateau of racelessness or whatever you want to call it, because there'll always be race, because, I mean, we have skin tones, so whatever. If we're trying to reach that, then clearly we all need to start looking at each other's stories, because we are all interwoven. Like, first of all, the story of slavery is not unique to our people.
No.
There's plenty of people.
The Jewish people.
Yeah. Native Americans. Lots of people all over the whole world.
Japanese with the Japanese internment over here. Anybody, like, anybody, really. And
the fact that slavery happened in America, our American slavery story is not one-sided, first of all. There's more than two sides. There's many sides to the story. Yes.
And the people that a lot of black people think that there's only one bad guy. There are a lot of bad guys.
Plenty.
Like there's more to slavery than just what we have learned in the history books, for one, and what people have told us. Because there's a lot of stuff that people have not told us.
And I think it's good that other races want to tell other races' stories. That's a good sign, I would say.
Yeah.
And especially that they want to tell them respectfully.
Yeah.
Because I read an article in either Essence or Ebony, one of those, where Quentin Tarantino was talking about how he wanted to treat this movie so delicately because he didn't want to do it wrong. He wanted it to be told correctly, and he almost didn't do it. But his good friend Sidney Poitier, what a friend to have, my goodness.
I know.
Told him to do it, but don't be afraid of your own movie. Just make the movie.
Right.
Because you feel it needs to be made, and you've gone through all these lengths to make sure it's made right. You got Jamie Foxx for Pete's sake.
Right. You have Samuel L. Jackson, who of course would curse you out and then like hit you or something if you did something that was gonna mess up
Yeah,
a black movie.
Sam Jackson is all for the black cause. Anyway, I'm glad that he took. It was good to read that because before I saw it, I was just like, okay, I don't know what this is gonna be like. It might just be another Tarantino blood fest. I don't know. And I say that because I don't actually know his movies that well. I just know of the blood. But anyway, I didn't know what to expect.
And even to go with what you're saying, even with movies like Jackie Brown, which I've seen a little bit of, and even like Pulp Fiction and all the other movies he's made, there's a lot of care that he takes in with the movie, um, because that's those black exploitation movies and grindhouse movies are the movies he grew up with, so he loves that stuff. So he's not going to do it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so in general, I mean, I don't get I don't get where the whole problem is that certain people are having with the film.
Yeah. Oh, another warning. We were just talking about this. If you love Kerry Washington, you watch Scandal every whatever day it comes on Thursday.
Sunday.
Sunday. You watch it religiously. You're live tweeting with Awesomely Lovey. Love her. If you're doing all those things, I'm sorry, but Broomhilda, Kerry Washington's character, she doesn't really talk a lot. She does a lot of smiling and waving and crying and making gestures, which
And
I thought was
speaking
wonderful.
German.
And speaking German. Did she even say any English words?
She said a few.
Like she barely speaks
But
English.
she only said like 5.
If you
English
speak
words.
German, hey, she says a lot. But but if you don't, like she doesn't really speak that much. And honestly, I think that was the best decision. First of all, because the character is so like on a pedestal. Like she had that was pedestal for you who couldn't see on this side of the screen. But she's up on this pedestal, and so you can't really make her that human to where you hear her talk all the time. Like she has to be perfect.
Right.
So all she does is cry, and I mean she does it well. Like I'm not saying she
but
just
you
phones
can
it
see
in.
that she's in a lot of distress.
Yeah, she's a great actress, clearly, but she doesn't talk a lot, which I thought was wonderful. But if you're gonna be offended by that, just go ahead and get yourself together, because she's not gonna talk a lot. I'm sorry, but you'll get to see her face.
Just you have to think of her as what Schultz said. He was talking about the story of Broomhilda,
which was genius.
Yeah, that was great. She's basically that character. She's a princess that's stuck in a tower. So just think of it like that. That's really what all she is.
We're really trying to watch Django grow, because when we see him first, he's a slave and he has the mind of a slave, as in he's like, I don't know, scared and submissive. And when we get to the end, he knows who he is. You know, we're watching him grow. It's not really about her. It's about him.
And that brings up another point about the submissive part.
I wanted them to come through with that skull. I wanted them to break apart dude's skull and show us the non-dimples or the dimples. I thought that's what they were foreshadowing. Remember?
The other who's?
Remember when Candy does the skull thing?
Yeah, but who's other skull?
I wanted the movie to come full circle with that skull. Like I thought somebody's gonna get their skull broken open, and the funny part would be, oh, I see the dimple. You know, yeah, I thought they were gonna do something.
Well, I think, I read something about that too. Like somebody was like, I wish they had done something else with the skull. But I think the thing that is trying to bring it back around to the whole submissive thing. And I'll explain what that is. I guess I better explain it now. In the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, there's a skull of a black man.
Which is probably not even the same skull. He's probably done this demonstration a few times.
And he breaks it open and shows that there's supposed to be this one part of the skull that has these 3 dimples that show that.
Blood too.
That show that that black people are submissive, that are naturally submissive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you see the movie, I think that the part that comes back around to that is when Schultz is telling Candy that since he loves French stuff for whatever reason, he tells him about Alexandre. He tells him about Alexandre Dumas.
That was so I LOL'd so hard.
And so of course Candy doesn't know that.
Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, he doesn't know that Alexandre Dumas is actually black.
A lot of people don't know that. For those who don't know, history lesson, Alexandre Dumas, author of Three Musketeers, Count of Monte Cristo, and countless other favorites, was black.
And I think the main character of the Count of Monte Cristo was black. Yeah. Because it said he had like tan skin or some kind of hair or something. Um, but anyway, I think that's what Schultz was trying to get at by saying if you love this stuff so much, you're reading all these books. Who wrote these books? A black guy. So how can you say that about the skull? Because obviously he's not being submissive if he's writing all these awesome books and it's famous in France, a place that you're supposed to love. So
since you are called Monsieur
for no reason,
idiot.
So
all he wants to do is sit up and eat candy corn.
Right. So if you've read anything about the skull part, that's my take on the skull part. Just know, I mean, and if you go back to In the Heat of the Night, they don't really come back to the flower scene.
They don't
really come back
to
that
leave
either.
That where, well, I mean, in the end, if you haven't seen In the Heat of the Night, you're really missing out. It's one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. It's excellent. But yeah, they kind of come back to it when the gang comes to get him, but they kind of just want to get him anyway. But I'm sure Endicott did, say, hey guys, you might want to go get this guy.
And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that when you're watching In the Heat of the Night, you know what Endicott is saying it obviously isn't true.
Yeah, because what he's saying, I can paraphrase. They're in the greenhouse, and he's saying, he's talking about an orchid, the epiphytics, that's a certain type. And Endicott, who's basically a slave owner in the 60s, whatever, he owns a cotton company.
Sharecropping or something like that.
But the people are out there picking cotton, singing spirituals and stuff.
Right.
Anyway, and he's like, or Mr. Tibbs, or Virgil, or Sidney Poitier, is saying, oh, this is my favorite one. And then Endicott goes, I wonder if you know why. It's because...
I thought you said you weren't doing the voice.
I'm sorry. The epiphytics, like the Negra, and that's Negra, not Negro. This man is so dumb, he can't even say this word correctly.
So southern.
The Negra needs care and time. No, it needs care, and that takes time. Or something like that.
Right.
And that's when the famous slap, they call him Mr. Tibbs, right?
Right.
Happens. Sorry.
But anyway.
It comes full circle-ish, but not really. In the same way that this skull scene doesn't really come full circle. It just kind of leaves it.
It's just somebody, it's just the movie, both movies are showing that somebody thinks that they can use their science and quote logic.
Their science. To
prove.
Oh
and
my
this has been talked about in history books too, how people are using religion, science, perverting Darwinism to say that there's a certain order of species, and that's all that scene really is. It's just showing that this guy Calvin Candy is so entrenched in his backwards culture.
And his candy
and we're saying
incest.
And we're saying this coming from Alabama, so we're not downing Southerners.
We come from the heart of Dixie. The place where it all began. It didn't begin there, but we're famous for our racism.
But
next to Mississippi, of course. Give respect where it's due.
But he's saying all this. He's not even really knowing what he's talking about.
No,
that's all that scene
talking
really is.
Straight from the knots. Oh, I can't. I studied this in African American literature. Shout out to Dr. Smith. Forget what it was called, but anyway, the science back then, they had all these pictures, and they were showing who was more related to the animal and the African skull, and the drawing is so horrific. It is this huge lipped,
which is bizarre,
ridiculously just grotesque looking face.
If you feel somebody's face, you can feel the skull underneath.
Yeah.
You can't feel skull lips. So.
And then they have it looking just they have a gorilla and then the black person. And they're these are closely related. Okay. Anyway, and they're basically saying we're so down on the scale. The Caucasoid is all the way up here, and
the Asian is next.
The Mongoloid. Excuse you for using real terms. The Mongoloid, and somebody else I can't remember. Is there another? I know Irish people are almost next to black people in that book.
But you see how stupid that sounds.
Yeah, and this kid, DiCaprio, Candy, was sitting here oh yeah, these 3 dimples, which have nothing to do with anything he was talking about. Anyway, it was wrong. But it didn't come full circle. I want to say something. I know I've been saying a lot, but during the movie, during this scene, Monique leaned over and she's like, this really happened. He really hurt himself during this scene. Now, when you see it, And I'm not gonna ruin it because it's a lovely surprise when you see it. But when you see this scene, if you don't think this scene was so perfect and meant to be, like seriously, it's like they wrote it this way. Like
Yeah,
it
it
is
is like they
perfect,
wrote it that
and it
way.
was all an accident. He's a gifted actor, Leo
Mhm.
DiCaprio. You did a great job, and I'm sorry, Kerry Washington. I hope you fully cleansed yourself after this scene because that's disgusting.
The music is great. I think it still might be online. At one point, you could listen to it all online.
I listened.
Django or the Unchained soundtrack.com, I think.
I think.
Unchained soundtrack.com.
She'll put it in the links below.
Yeah. But overall, great movie. 4
Really,
stars.
really good. We all clapped at the end, which is a sign of a great movie.
Yeah.
If you've never experienced applause at the end of a movie, not a play, okay? This is not live. This is still in an auditorium where none of the actors can hear us because they're not there because it's recorded. But if you've not experienced that, you haven't experienced it.
People were laughing at the same time.
We all laughed together. We were like,
we were
all
doing
that.
Saying, when gross
yeah,
stuff
everybody
happened.
was grossed out at the same time. We were all like, It was great.
We were all on the edge of our seats.
We were. It was so good.
And then we all clapped at the end.
We all clapped.
So great movie. Go see it. Go see it with. If you've got a boyfriend or some guy friend, you need to hide behind somebody.
Or just someone to hide behind.
Or an older
whatever
sister.
You have.
Or
and awkwardly,
older brother or somebody.
Oddly, I didn't even touch you during. I mean, we were like this, but normally I would just be like, ah, the whole time. But I was strong. I'm growing as a person. But yes, if you have someone, don't go alone.
I probably did that more than you. Actually.
Don't go alone. If anybody out there is just like, I'm gonna go by myself, don't do it unless you're just like so hard that you can handle all of it alone. I wouldn't.
But we're just saying that because we're already squeamish anyway.
Yeah, we're kind of.
So if you like,
if you're not weak sauce like we are, then
if you go see horror movies all the time, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm more Disney speed. So if you're like I am and you're on level 2, bring someone. But if you're on level 10,
only as hard as The Hobbit or X-Men or something.
Yeah, the most gore I can tolerate is Gollum biting a fish raw.
Or biting off Frodo's finger.
Or biting off Frodo's finger. And even that's pushing it, but I couldn't stand Frodo by the end of that movie. So I was like, that's what you get. Your finger got bitten. But other than that, no. But go see it.
Yes, go see it.
It's great.
Alright, so now we're moving on to Tyler Perry's Temptation Confessions of a Marriage Counselor.
You see how hard that was for her to remember? That's the mark that your title is too long. We don't have to know your name, Tyler Perry. We know it's you. We can just look at a few seconds of the trailer. That's Tyler Perry, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Well, this movie stars Journey Smollett.
No. It stars too many people. Let's just say that.
Journey Smollett is playing a marriage counselor. She's
married to Lance Gross.
She's having problems with her marriage that I don't think she actually needs to have. Just from the trailer, she's just bored, and then she meets this other guy.
Everybody gets bored.
I think it's like somebody's client or something.
But he's not even married though.
Yeah, he's not married.
So what is he doing being her client? She's supposed to be counseling married people.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, when you have this many questions off the trailer.
She's trying to change venues or something. Change her job status or something.
Oh.
So first impressions are, well, okay, I'll say this. It's a lot different than a lot of other Tyler Perry movies. It seems like he's trying to branch out. He's been kind of doing that with each movie.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. I will say, how do I want to say this? It seems like, and I'm not trying to do a Spike Lee here since we haven't seen the movie.
I like that we've coined that term. Let's just keep that throughout this whole thing.
But since we have the trailer, my first impressions are that it's going to be one that's going to supposedly be different, but it's actually going to be more of the same. As in, you have this woman who already has this perfect guy,
successful career.
Yeah, and then she meets some other guy, and it seems like he beats her up in the trailer.
Yeah, which that came out of left field, but not really because it's Tyler Perry, and that man loves to beat up a black woman. I don't know why, but that's his favorite pastime. He's like, oh man, how can I beat up a black woman in this movie? It's about chickens, but let me beat up a black woman, dude. And with that said, I do like Tyler Perry. He seems like a nice guy. I've seen him live.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a great guy, and he's a pretty good singer. So yeah, whatever.
Singer?
Yeah, there's a little concert afterward. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, uh, basically, it just seems like more of the same. And you have an old black lady, who's giving advice.
Usually, Cicely Tyson.
Yeah, usually Cicely Tyson, but it's not. Maybe she's not black, but she's something in this movie. She's an old lady.
But we have Vanessa Williams
giving advice. I don't know.
I thought she was in there.
She's in it.
But she's not the advice giver.
I don't think so.
I don't remember the advice giver.
But you also have Kim Kardashian in there for no reason.
I'm sorry. Can I please address this right now? Like, okay, I understand Kim is trying to like find herself and expand her brand and all that. That's wonderful. I'm happy for you, Kim, despite my feelings about your whole family's corporation. But if you're gonna be in a movie, like, can you take time to like practice the lines so you don't sound like you're just reading them? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you already know months ahead of time you're gonna be in the movie. You didn't just get called yesterday and then you have to go to the set the next day. You already know you're gonna be in it. So get yourself an acting coach. And I'm not an actress by any means, so you know I'd probably be just as horrible. But Kim, I applaud you trying to be in the movie, but could you please read the lines with some feeling instead of just, oh my gosh, you're going to not be a marriage counselor anymore? Like, come on, Kim. Come on.
But overall, whatever. If you love Tyler Perry movies, you probably love this one.
It's just too dramatic. It's too dramatic. Like, and I love a good drama just as much as the next person. Honestly, like, I truly enjoy drama. I watched Degrassi for like 2 years straight. I watched it. So clearly I'm a lover of drama. I mean, I don't watch the new Degrassi because it's kind of trash, but anyway, I just feel like for Tyler Perry to take a step out of his comfort zone, he needs to take the full step instead of just kind of taking a full step. Like, oh, I'm going to cast Journey Smollett. That's different. She's a real actress. Haha, see? No.
And at least we're giving her a chance since Hollywood has yet to give her a real chance.
She's a great actress. If you've not seen Selma Lord Selma, which if you're from the South, you have because they show it like it's a part of the curriculum apparently. Great movie. She's only like 12 and does an excellent job. But anyway, yeah, I just don't like how Tyler Perry has to keep. And I know he's trying to keep his audience, but we don't need to see dysfunctional people all the time.
Right.
Like, to that degree. Like, you can be dysfunctional, but you don't have to be, like, that dysfunctional to where you've somehow roped yourself into a relationship, an affair in which your life is worse than your actual relationship.
And for, like, the part that we see in the movie about her husband missing her birthday, and she's like, what'd she say? Like, it's the second time.
It's the second year.
Like, how about you tell him, that he missed your birthday instead of getting mad about it and thinking that he doesn't care about you. He just forgot.
Yeah, you're a fair person ain't gonna know your birthday either. And again, we're not advocating that you forget your significant other's birthday because that's not a good thing to do. I mean, you got Facebook, you can look and see. You know, like that's a bad thing to do.
Like,
we're not saying it's
them.
good. Yeah, and you should just know. Like after so many years, you'd be like, okay, it's about that time. That's terrible, but for you to react, like for this all to spiral so far out of control so quickly, just because he's being a little inattentive because they've been together for too long and you need to spice it up.
Yeah.
All you need to do is call that old lady doctor on Oxygen. Call up somebody. And when you're a marriage counselor, you've got sex therapist friends. Get one of them on the phone. Be like, hey, my marriage is kind of crumbling here. We're kind of bored. What can we do? Boom.
And as a marriage counselor, you probably studied it a little.
Yeah, and let's not act like, okay, the title is Temptation. You know, we're all tempted in many ways. I understand that. We've already had many a movie about a tempted. I am an English major, I promise. A tempted person who succumbs or whatever. But, I don't know. The reasoning is just not there for me. In the preview or the trailer, she's like, oh, he's so good looking or whatever. I don't know. It just seems like it's too much. And there's too many people, too many headliners, you know, to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
He could have just thrown Madea in there and been done.
Yeah, at least it seems like it would have been, I don't want to say entertaining, but...
At least we could have laughed.
Because it's probably already entertaining, but it would have seemed, I don't know, somehow rounded out. It seemed like it was missing something.
Yeah, and I think another problem we're having is not really it's not even really the storyline that bothers me the most. It's that we've seen it from him before. Tyler Perry
Right.
keeps churning out the same stuff. And the same could be said for many people. Like Tarantino churns
Right.
out the blood every time. But he
Right.
does
Right.
vary it up a little bit. You know.
He does try to expand his artistic
Yeah, the story's always
style.
different. It just always has a lot of nasty killing. But
It's his style. It's not
right.
his. It's not him retreading the same story over and
Yeah, we're
over
not going
again.
down the same path. We just might be going down it. It might be being told in a similar way, but it's not the same path. But with Tyler, Mr. Perry, whatever, it's just like the same basic storyline every single
And
time.
even with what I saw of Alex Cross, it seemed like they were trying to make that into a
Into a
Tyler
Tyler
Perry
Perry
movie
movie.
by having Cicely Tyson
Of all
in it.
people, like what? Don't drag Cicely into this. She's a great actress. Leave her alone. Let her be retired.
So overall, like I said, if you love Tyler Perry movies, you're probably gonna love Temptation. You can decide for yourself if you want to see it. I am intrigued to see it.
I want to support Journey.
Yeah, I want to support her, so I might go see it, but we shall see when it comes out.
Probably gonna want to go see it.
When I was 17, took my fake ID to Rosemary, just to be seen.
Anoop Desai, if you don't remember him from American Idol, he had since then moved to Atlanta, partnered with some producers, and now he is working on a new pop album. Actually, it just came out called Three Tears, and we've got the single, one of the singles from Three Tears, which is also called Three Tears, for you to listen to. So, um, it's at the end of this video, and you probably heard a little bit of it at the beginning of this video too. So, if you want Three Tears, make sure to check out anoopdesai.com. Um, he has a SoundCloud uh, account, some other music accounts that you can listen to Three Tiers and buy it from. So we'll have the links to those in the description box. And that kind of wraps up this episode. Thanks for watching Hot Culture. I'm Monique Jones again, and this is my sister Ashley. And you can find me, and I guess both of us, since these videos are going to be on my website, at moniqueblog.net. You can also find me on Twitter at moniqueblognet, and on Facebook at moniqueblog. And make sure to watch out for us again later this week, probably around Saturday, with the first video version of the Downton cast. If you watched or if you listened to our iTunes recaps of season 2, yeah, the rest of season 2, then we're just picking up where we left off. We'll have a little bit of a recap of the first 2 seasons. Yes. Of a little bit of a recap of the first 2 seasons, and we'll get right into the new episode that's going to be airing Sunday night, and it's probably already aired by the time this video has gone up. So, with that in mind, stay tuned. Stay tuned to Monique Vlog's YouTube channel, and I hope to see you back again next week. Bye.
Bye.
Every Tuesday, a new